Never wanted to be a hero. He was just a cargo pilot trying to make an honest living hauling supplies between colonies. The day his ship broke down over the mining settlement was the day his simple life ended. The engine had failed without warning. Smoke filled the cockpit as alarms screamed in his ears. Fought the controls, struggling to keep the vessel from spinning out of control. The ground rushed up to meet him. He crashed hard into the red dirt outside a small town, his cargo scattered across the landing site. The local people helped him from the wreckage. They were miners and farmers, simple folks trying to survive on a harsh world. Their leader, an old woman named, told him the repair parts he needed would take weeks to arrive. Had no choice but to wait. 3 days later, the raiders came. They arrived in black ships, their hulls covered in scraps of metal and stolen weapons. They wanted the town's mineral stores, the food supplies, everything of value. The settlers had no military, no defense force. They only had farming tools and mining equipment. Watched from the repair shop as the first raider ship landed. Something inside him refused to run. Maybe it was stubbornness. Maybe it was the fact that these people had helped him when his ship crashed. He grabbed his tool kit and started working. Using parts from his damaged cargo ship, built crude weapons. He showed the miners how to turn their drilling lasers into defensive cannons. He helped them set up barriers using mining equipment. When the raiders attacked, was on the front line. The battle lasted 3 days. Barely slept. He ran from position to position, fixing broken defenses, organizing the settlers and fighting when he had to. His hands bled from working with hot metal. His ears rang from explosions. But the town held. On the 3rd day, the raiders retreated, collapsed from exhaustion in the town square. When he woke up, everything had changed. The Galactic Council had arrived. Their massive white ships floated above the settlement like artificial moons. Representatives in flowing robes walked through the damaged streets, recording everything. They interviewed survivors, reviewed security footage, and studied improvised defenses. Ambassador, a tall alien with purple skin and 4 arms, found in the medical tent. "You are of Earth, yes?" the ambassador asked in perfect human language. Nodded, too tired to speak. "The council has reviewed your actions. You defended civilians against overwhelming odds. You displayed courage, creativity, and self-sacrifice. The Galactic Accords recognize such deeds. You are hereby declared a champion of the Accords." Didn't understand what that meant. He just wanted to repair his ship and leave. 2 days later, they held a ceremony in the town center. The council had cleaned up the battle damage and erected a stage with flags from 100 worlds. Thousands of aliens attended, both in person and through holographic projection. Cameras floated everywhere, broadcasting across the galaxy. Stood on the stage in borrowed formal clothes, feeling completely out of place. Ambassador gave a long speech about honor and duty. The crowd cheered, just wanted it to end. Then the ambassador said something that makes blood run cold. "As is tradition for champions of the Accords, you are granted a reward befitting your heroism. We present to you 2 rescued individuals, saved from illegal traders by council forces. You may select one to serve as your personal attendant, as is your right under Section 47 of the Accords." 2 figures were led onto the stage. They were young women, clearly not human. Both wore simple gray clothes and metal collars around their necks. Guards held chains attached to the collars. The first was tall with pale blue skin that glowed softly in the light. Delicate patterns covered her arms and face, shifting colors like bioluminescent markings. Her eyes were wide with fear. This was. The second was shorter with skin that seemed to change color, shifting from green to gray to brown as watched. Her eyes were sharp and wary, like a trapped animal looking for escape. This was. Both kept their heads down, neither looked at directly. "They have been prepared according to protocol," Ambassador continued. Their neural compliance collars ensure obedience and translate language. They are educated, healthy, and skilled in various domestic tasks. Choose wisely, champion. The crowd waited in silence, cameras focused on his face. Stared at the two women, they were terrified. He could see them shaking. The collars on their necks had small lights that blinked red, control devices, slave collars. He looked at. Her bioluminescent patterns had turned dark blue, the color of sadness or fear. Her hands were clasped together, trembling. He looked at. Her skin had gone completely gray, matching the concrete stage beneath her feet. A defense mechanism realized. She was trying to disappear. Champion, the ambassador prompted, make your selection. His mind raced. This was wrong. Everything about this was wrong. These weren't criminals or volunteers. They were captives, slaves. The ambassador had said they were rescued from illegal traders, but now the council was trading them legally. He looked past the two women at the rows of council members seated behind them. They were smiling. This was normal to them, expected, traditional. The crowd began to murmur, was taking too long. Ambassador stepped closer. Is there a problem, champion? Do you require more information about their skills and backgrounds? Found his voice. Where are they from? The ambassador seemed surprised by the question. The and, respectively. Both were recovered from criminal elements. They are quite fortunate to be offered this opportunity for rehabilitation through service. Rehabilitation from what? Asked. What crimes did they commit? His expression flickered with annoyance. That is not relevant to your selection, champion. They are certified for service under council law. Please choose. Looked at and again. Then he looked at his own hands. These hands had built weapons to defend innocent people. These hands had fought to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. How could these same hands accept a slave? His hands slowly clenched into fists. The cameras caught every movement. The crowd fell completely silent. Raised his eyes from the two frightened women to the smiling council members behind them. Something hard settled in his chest, a determination he had felt only once before, when he decided to fight for the settlement instead of running. The question wasn't which one to choose. The question was whether to choose at all. And already knew his answer. The silence stretched across the ceremony ground. Every eye in the crowd focused on. The cameras floated closer, capturing his face in perfect detail for viewers across the galaxy. No, said clearly. Ambassador blinked all four eyes in confusion. Excuse me. I said no, I refuse this reward. A wave of shocked murmurs rippled through the crowd. Several council members stood from their seats. The guards holding his chains looked at each other, uncertain. His purple skin darkened to a deep violet. Champion, perhaps you misunderstand. This is a great honor. In 300 years of the Accords, no champion has ever refused their reward. Then I guess I'm the first, said. His voice was steady, but his heart pounded in his chest. This isn't a reward. This is slavery with fancy words. The crowd erupted. Aliens shouted in dozens of languages. Some seemed angry, others confused. The holographic projections flickered as viewers across the galaxy reacted in real time. Raised all four arms for silence. You speak from ignorance of our ways, human. This is not slavery. These individuals are being given a chance for rehabilitation through service. It is legal under Section 47 of the Galactic Accords. It is humane and proper. Rehabilitation from what? Demanded. What did they do wrong? That information is sealed in their case files, as is standard procedure. So you're telling me I'm supposed to take ownership of a person, but I can't even know why. That's insane. His expression hardened. Champion, you are embarrassing yourself and your species. Accept the honor you have earned or decline politely and leave, but do not insult the council's generosity. Stepped forward, moving closer to where and stood. Both women's eyes widened. Up close, he could see the fear in their faces more clearly. Bioluminescent patterns pulsed rapidly with anxiety. Skin had gone almost white, making her nearly invisible against the pale stage. "I want to talk to them," said. "That is not protocol," replied. "I don't care about protocol. If I'm supposed to choose one of them, I should at least be allowed to speak with them, unless you're afraid of what they might say." Words hit their mark. Several council members whispered to each other. The crowd's murmuring grew louder. To refuse such a simple request would look suspicious. "Very well," said through what looked like clenched teeth. "You may have a brief interview, but the neural collars must remain active for translation purposes." "No," said flatly, "take the collars off. I've got a translation device in my ship. We can use that." "The collars are safety measures." "Safety for who? Them or you?" Pulled out his data pad, the same one he used for cargo manifests. "I'm activating my translator right now. Either remove the collars or I walk off this stage and tell every human news network what I saw here today." Skin went almost black with rage, but around the square noticed something. Many of the aliens in the crowd were watching with new interest. Some were whispering, nodding. Not everyone agreed with the ambassador. "You would cause a diplomatic incident over this?" asked. "I defended innocent people from raiders," said. "That's what made me a champion, right? Well, I'm looking at 2 more innocent people who need defending. So yeah, I would." For a long moment no one moved, then made a gesture to the guards. "Remove the collars, temporarily. Take them to a private room for the interview, but guards must be present." "Fine," agreed. They led him, and to a small building near the ceremony ground. It was a simple meeting room with a table and chairs. 2 armed guards stood by the door. The guards removed the neural collars carefully, unlocking them with a key code. Gasped as her collar came off, touching her neck gently. Rubbed her throat, her skin slowly returning to its natural green-brown color. Activated his translator and set it on the table. "Can you understand me?" Nodded. When she spoke, her voice was soft and musical. "Yes, we can understand." "What are your names? Your real names, not whatever the council calls you." "I am," the blue-skinned woman said. The other added quietly. Sat down at the table and gestured for them to sit too. They did, moving carefully like they expected to be punished for it. The guards watched but didn't interfere. "Okay, and I need you to tell me the truth. What happened to you? How did you end up here?" And exchanged glances. Spoke first, her words coming fast and bitter. "I was sold. My family had debts, big debts. On my world, families can sell children to pay debts. It's legal there. The traders bought me when I was 16. I'm 19 now." "Felt sick, and you?" Bioluminescent patterns turned deep blue again. "I was a medical student. I was traveling to university on a transport ship. Pirates attacked. They took several passengers. I don't know what happened to the others. The traders kept me for 2 years before council forces raided their facility." "So neither of you committed any crime," said. "No," whispered. "We are victims. But the council's law says rescued captives must serve rehabilitation terms, even if we did nothing wrong." "That's insane." "That's the law," said. Her skin had turned red now, the color of anger. "We have no families to claim us, no money for lawyers, so we become rewards for heroes. Better than being sold again, they tell us. We should be grateful." Looked at the 2 women in front of him, who should be finishing medical school, who should never have been sold in the first place. Both of them had done nothing wrong except be in the wrong place at the wrong time. "What do you want?" asked. "If you could choose anything, what would you want?" His patterns flickered with surprise. "No one has ever asked me that." "I'm asking now." Was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Freedom. I want to finish my education. I want to be a doctor and help people. But that's not an option for us, is it?" "Freedom is just a word they use on posters," added. It doesn't apply to people like us." Stood up, maybe it should. The guard stepped forward, thinking he might try something, but just walked to the window and looked out at the ceremony ground. The crowd was still there, waiting for him to return and make his choice. His mind was racing. There had to be a way out of this. There had to be a loophole, something in the law that could help. The council ran on rules and regulations, had spent years dealing with shipping law and trade regulations. Every system had gaps. He turned back to it. "Give me 48 hours, don't give up yet." 48 hours for what? Asked. "To find the third option," said. "They want me to choose one of you. I'm going to choose something different." His patterns brightened to a soft yellow, a color guessed meant hope. "How?" "I don't know yet, but I defended a whole town with nothing but spare parts and stubbornness. I can figure this out too." The guards took and away, putting the collars back on. Watched them go, seeing the small spark of hope in their eyes. He'd made them a promise. Now he had to keep it. Ambassador was waiting outside. "Have you made your decision?" "Not yet," said. "I need time to think." "You have 48 hours," said coldly. "After that, the reward offer expires and both will be sent to standard labor assignments." Walked back to his damaged ship. His co-pilot was working on the engines. Was an old friend, someone trusted completely. "I need your help," said. "What kind of help?" "The kind that might get us in trouble with the Galactic Council." Grinned. "My favorite kind. What are we doing?" "Finding a loophole in the law. We've got 48 hours. Then we'd better get started." Didn't sleep for 2 days. He sat in his damaged cargo ship surrounded by data pads and holographic displays showing thousands of pages of galactic law. Brought him food and coffee while searching through legal databases on his own terminal. "This is impossible," muttered, rubbing his tired eyes. "The Accords have laws built on top of laws built on top of more laws. It would take a team of lawyers years to understand all of this." "We don't have years, we have," checked the time, 36 hours left. They kept reading. The Galactic Accords covered everything from trade disputes to war crimes. Section 47, the law that allowed rehabilitation through service, was buried deep in the document. Read it carefully, looking for any weakness. The law was clear. Rescued captives with no family to claim them could be assigned to service positions. It was supposedly for their own good to give them purpose and protection, but saw it for what it really was, slavery with legal paperwork. "Wait," said suddenly, "look at this. Section 47, subsection 12, paragraph 8. Pulled up the document on his screen. The paragraph was written in dense legal language, but he read it 3 times to make sure he understood. Rewards granted under this section may be converted to alternative compensation of equal value, subject to approval by the champion and the Council Ethics Committee, read aloud. "What does that mean?" "It means you can trade the reward for something else," explained. "Money, property, political favors, anything the Council agrees is equal value." "But that doesn't help and they'd still be prisoners." Grinned. "Keep reading. Look at the footnote." Found it, a tiny note at the bottom of the page. Alternative compensation includes, but is not limited to, financial assets, property rights, political appointments, educational grants, and relocation assistance. "Relocation assistance," said slowly, "like asylum." "Exactly like asylum. If you accept both women as your reward, then immediately convert that reward to relocation assistance on their behalf, they'd be free." "But I'm not authorized to sponsor asylum seekers. Only governments can do that." "Then we need to talk to our government." Contacted the Earth Diplomatic Corps immediately. It took 6 hours to get through the bureaucracy, but finally he was connected to Ambassador, Earth's senior representative to the Galactic Council. His face appeared on the holographic display. He was an older man with gray hair and sharp eyes. "Pilot, I've been watching the news about you. Quite the situation you've created. Sir, I need Earth's help. I found a legal way to free 2 people from forced service, but I need governmental authorization. Explained his plan. Listened carefully, asking questions and making notes. When finished, the ambassador was quiet for a long moment. What you're proposing would work legally, said, but it would anger the council. They've used Section 47 for centuries. If Earth helps you bypass it, we'll make enemies. These are innocent people, sir. They've done nothing wrong. I know that, but Earth is still new to galactic politics. We have to be careful about which fights we pick. Felt his hope fading, then smiled. However, the ambassador continued, I've been looking for a way to challenge the council's labor practices. They preach about freedom and rights, but Section 47 is just slavery with extra steps. If you're willing to be the face of this fight, Earth will back you. What do I need to do? Come to the council headquarters tomorrow. Bring your legal argument. I'll have our lawyers prepare asylum paperwork. We'll call it a moral repatriation initiative helping victims restart their lives on Earth. Will the council accept it? They'll have to. It's legal under their own laws. They can't refuse without admitting that Section 47 is actually about slavery, not rehabilitation. Felt a weight lift from his chest. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me yet. This won't be easy. Be ready for a fight. The next morning and arrived at the council headquarters. It was a massive building that floated above the colony, held up by anti-gravity generators. Inside, the halls were filled with aliens from hundreds of species, all conducting galactic business. Ambassador was waiting in a conference room with a dozen other council members. When entered, their expressions ranged from annoyed to angry. Champion said coldly, your time is nearly expired. Have you made your selection? I have, said. He placed his data pad on the table. I accept both and as my reward, as is permitted under Section 47. His eyes widened. You cannot accept both. The law specifies one. The law specifies one per standard reward, interrupted. But it also allows for enhanced rewards in cases of exceptional service. I defended an entire colony for 3 days. I think that qualifies as exceptional. A female council member with silver skin spoke up. Even if we granted this unusual request, what would you do with 2 attendants? I won't do anything with them. I'm immediately converting this reward to alternative compensation under Section 47, subsection 12, paragraph 8. The room went silent, pulled up the law on his own data pad, reading quickly. His purple skin turned almost black. You wish to trade your reward for compensation? Asked carefully. Specifically, I want to use the relocation assistance provision. I'm sponsoring both and for asylum on Earth. You cannot sponsor asylum. You're a civilian. Right on time, the door opened. Ambassador entered with 2 human lawyers. But Earth's government can sponsor asylum, and we agree to do so as part of our new moral repatriation initiative. Placed a stack of official documents on the table. All the paperwork is here. Asylum applications for both individuals, approved by Earth's Immigration Authority. Financial guarantees for their housing and education. Everything legal and proper. Stood up, all 4 arms trembling with rage. This is a mockery of the Accords. No, said calmly. This is using the Accords exactly as written. Your own law allows conversion of rewards. Your own law includes relocation assistance. We're just following the rules. The spirit of the law. The spirit of the law is supposed to be rehabilitation and protection, said. How is giving them education and freedom on Earth not better rehabilitation than forced service? The other council members whispered among themselves. Some looked angry, but others seemed thoughtful. A male alien with green scales spoke up. The human makes a valid point. If the purpose is truly rehabilitation, then this outcome is superior. It's a loophole, argued. It's exploiting the law. It's creative interpretation, corrected. Something humans are quite good at. Now, do you approve this request or do we file a formal complaint about forced labor practices? Looked like he wanted to refuse, but he couldn't. Not without admitting what Section 47 really was. Not with cameras recording every word for the galactic news networks. Fine, said through clenched teeth. The request is approved, but understand, human, this will have consequences. You've made powerful people very unhappy. I'll take my chances, said. They brought into the conference room. The guards removed their neural collars one final time. This time, the collars wouldn't go back on. You're free, told them. Earth is granting you asylum. You'll come with us on the diplomatic transport. Bioluminescent patterns exploded with bright yellow and gold colors. Tears ran down her blue face. We're really free. Really free. You can study medicine, and Earth has excellent engineering schools. Skin cycled through every color had seen and a dozen he hadn't. She was laughing and crying at the same time. How did you do this? Humans are stubborn, and we don't like slavery no matter what fancy name you put on it. Ambassador smiled. Welcome to Earth, ladies. I think you're going to like it there. And the other council members left the room in angry silence. But as they went, noticed some of the junior council members staying behind. One of them, a young alien with orange fur, approached. There are others, she whispered. Other captives from other ceremonies. Can you help them too? Looked at, the ambassador nodded slowly. We'll help as many as we can, promised. The news spread quickly. Within hours, the galactic networks were reporting on the human loophole. Some praised creativity. Others called him a troublemaker. But most importantly, other captives began filing petitions for similar treatment. The council had to respond to each petition. They couldn't refuse without exposing the truth about Section 47. 12 more captives were freed in the next week alone. Standing in the council headquarters, watching and sign their asylum papers, felt something he hadn't felt since the battle. Pride. Not in himself, but in what was possible when you refused to accept wrong answers. Ready to go home? Asked. Looked at and both smiling freely for the first time since he'd met them. Yeah, let's go home. The diplomatic transport to Earth was a sleek vessel, much nicer than any ship had ever flown. It had private cabins, a dining hall, and even a small observation deck where passengers could watch the stars pass by during faster-than-light travel. Found on the observation deck on their second day of travel. She stood at the window, her bioluminescent patterns glowing soft blue as she watched the distorted light of hyperspace. Can't sleep? Asked. Turned, her patterns shifting to gentle green. I keep thinking I'll wake up and this will all be a dream, that I'll still be wearing that collar. It's not a dream, you're really free. She touched her neck where the collar had been. I was a captive for 2 years. Before that, I was a student. I don't know how to be a free person anymore. Sat down on one of the benches. You'll remember. It'll take time, but you'll remember. Sat beside him. Why did you do it? You could have chosen one of us and been respected across the galaxy. You could have been wealthy. Instead, you made the council angry and created a political incident. On Earth, we have a saying, said, a person's not property. I thought that was universal. Guess I was wrong. Most species believe in freedom as an idea, said quietly. But when following that idea becomes inconvenient, they find reasons to ignore it. Humans seem to have trouble with that. We've had our own problems with slavery in the past, admitted. Maybe that's why we recognize it in other forms. We know what it looks like. Walked onto the observation deck carrying 3 cups of something hot. Her skin was a calm green-brown color, her natural shade. I brought tea. Well, the ship's computer said it was close to tea. Might taste terrible. They all tried it. It did taste terrible. They laughed anyway. "I've been watching the news feeds," said, pulling up a holographic display. "Your stunt has caused chaos in the council." The display showed news from across the galaxy. On some channels, political analysts argued about the legality of actions. On others, former captives told their stories, revealing how they'd been trapped in forced service for years. One news feed showed protests outside council headquarters. Thousands of aliens held signs demanding an end to Section 47. Another feed showed council members giving angry speeches about human interference. 12 other captives have already been freed, said, reading the reports. They're using the same legal argument you used. 13 now, corrected, updating the feed. A pilot from Andromeda Sector just filed for asylum on a human colony. Watched the news with mixed feelings. He was glad others were being freed, but he could see the anger building among council supporters. Not everyone was happy about the changes. Ambassador visited them that evening in the ship's dining hall. He looked tired but pleased. "I wanted to update you on the situation," said, sitting down with them. "The council is being forced to review Section 47. Too many people are asking questions now. Some council members are calling for reforms." "That's good, right?" asked. "It's very good, but it's also dangerous. The council members who profit from the current system are getting desperate. I've heard rumors of extremist groups forming, people who think humans are destroying galactic order." "Should we be worried?" asked, her skin turning slightly gray. "We have security on the ship. You're safe. But once we reach Earth, you'll need to be careful, at least until this situation calms down." Over the next few days, helped and prepare for life on Earth. He showed them videos of human cities, explained Earth customs, and helped them practice human social interactions. Was fascinated by Earth's medical schools. She spent hours researching programs, reading about human anatomy and comparing it to biology. Discovered she had an aptitude for engineering. She wandered the ship asking the crew questions about the engines, the navigation systems, and the life support. The chief engineer started teaching her basics. "Earth has excellent engineering programs," the engineer told her. "Some of the best in the galaxy, actually. Humans are good at building things." Also spent time with them simply talking, helping them adjust to freedom. Told him about her family on the... She had a younger brother she hadn't seen in 2 years. Helped her send a message home, telling her family she was alive and safe. Talked less about her family. The pain of being sold was still too fresh. Instead, she focused on the future, making lists of things she wanted to learn and places she wanted to see. On the 6th day of travel, woke to alarms blaring throughout the ship. He ran into the corridor and found crew members rushing past, grabbed his arm. "We're under attack," said. "Small ship, heavily armed. They disabled our communications before we knew they were there." His heart raced. "Where are and?" "Still in their cabins, I think. Security is trying to seal the residential sections." They ran toward the cabins. Behind them, heard the sound of an airlock being forced open. The attackers were boarding the ship. And were in the hallway outside their rooms, looking terrified. Skin had gone completely white. Patterns were flashing red. A color had learned meant danger. "Stay behind me," ordered. He grabbed a maintenance tool from the wall. It wasn't much of a weapon, but it was better than nothing. 4 figures in black armor came around the corner. They carried energy weapons and moved with military precision. Pro-council extremists, just like had warned about. "Stand aside, human," one of them said through a speaker in their helmet. "We only want the contraband." "They're not contraband, they're people. They're property, illegally removed from lawful service. We're here to correct your mistake." The leader raised their weapon, stepped in front of and, knowing his maintenance tool was useless against military-grade energy weapons. Then the ship's lights went out. In the darkness, Hurd's voice. "Emergency lighting is out, switching to backup power in 10 seconds. 10 seconds was enough, grabbed and then pulled them into a side corridor. He heard the attackers shouting, trying to find them in the dark. When the backup lights came on, they were dim and red, making it hard to see. Led and through maintenance passages he'd learned about from the crew. "Where are we going?" whispered. "The bridge. It's the most secure part of the ship." They ran through the red-lit corridors. Behind them, they heard the attackers searching, opening doors and checking rooms. Skin was shifting colors rapidly, trying to blend with the walls. "They're going to find us." "Not if we're fast." They reached a junction where 3 corridors met. Was about to choose a path when one of the attackers stepped into view at the far end of the left corridor. "There," the attacker shouted. Energy blasts lit up the corridor, pushed and down the right corridor and ran after them. The walls behind them exploded, showering them with debris. They burst through a door into the cargo bay. The chief engineer was there with several crew members, all armed with whatever they could find. "Attackers coming," shouted. The crew formed a defensive line. When the attackers came through the door, the crew fought back with improvised weapons and determination. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. The attackers were forced to retreat. Ambassador's voice came over the ship's speakers. "All hands, this is the ambassador. Security teams have repelled the attackers. Their ship is retreating. We're safe." Collapsed against a cargo container, his heart still racing, and sat beside him, both shaking. "They try to take us back," said quietly. "Even though it's legal for us to be free, they try to take us back." "Some people don't like change," said, "especially when change threatens their power or their profits." His patterns were dark blue again. "This is because of us. People are getting hurt because you freed us." "No," said firmly. "People are getting hurt because the Council allowed slavery to exist for 300 years. We're just shining a light on it." Found them in the cargo bay. He had a bruise on his face and his formal clothes were torn. "Is everyone all right?" "We're fine," said. "What about the attackers?" "They got away, but we recorded everything. The Council will have to respond to this. You can't have armed extremists attacking diplomatic vessels and pretend everything's fine." "Will there be more attacks?" asked. "Probably," admitted, "but we'll be ready and we won't back down." The rest of the journey to Earth was tense but uneventful. Extra security was posted throughout the ship. Barely slept, always listening for alarms. On the 8th day, they finally saw Earth through the observation windows. It was a blue and green sphere hanging in the darkness of space, with white clouds swirling across its surface. Stood at the window, her patterns bright yellow with wonder. "It's beautiful." Skin had turned a soft blue, reflecting the planet below. "This is home now." "If you want it to be," said. "Earth welcomes anyone seeking freedom." As they began their descent, thought about everything that had happened. He'd started as a cargo pilot and somehow became a political figure. He'd made enemies and started a movement. He'd been attacked and fought back. But looking at and's faces as they saw Earth for the first time, he knew it was worth it. 6 months passed like a dream that still couldn't quite believe was real. She stood in the courtyard of Seoul Medical University, watching human students rush between classes. Her blue skin and bioluminescent patterns made her stand out, but nobody stared anymore. They'd gotten used to seeing her around campus. "Wait up!" A human student named Minyu ran to catch up with her. He was in her anatomy class. "Did you finish the assignment on cardiovascular systems?" "Yes, it was fascinating. Hearts have 3 chambers instead of 4, so comparing the efficiency was interesting." "You want to study together later. I'm still confused about the pulmonary circulation part." "I'd like that," said, her patterns turning warm yellow. This was still new to her, having friends, making plans, being treated as an equal. She went to her next class, taking notes and asking questions like any other student. The professor, Dr. Park, was particularly encouraging. She'd taken a special interest in his unique perspective on medicine. After classes, took the train across the city to meet Ada. The train was crowded with humans going about their daily lives. 6 months ago had been terrified of crowds. Now she felt safe, even peaceful. Was already at her skin a content green-brown. She had a laptop open and was working on some kind of technical diagram. When she saw, her skin briefly flashed yellow in greeting. "How were your classes?" asked. "Good, we're studying cardiovascular systems this week. How's your apprenticeship?" "Amazing," said, her skin turning bright with excitement. "My supervisor let me help design part of a new water purification system. It's going to be installed in a settlement on Mars. Something I designed will be on another planet." They ordered drinks and talked about their days. It was such a normal thing, two friends meeting at a but-for, and it was a miracle. "I got a message from my brother," said quietly. "He's saving money to visit Earth next year." "That's wonderful," said, then she hesitated. Did you tell him about the captivity?" "Some of it, not all. He knows I'm safe now, that's enough." Nodded. She rarely talked about her own family, the ones who had sold her. Some wounds took longer to heal. "Sent me a message," said, changing the subject. "He wants to meet tomorrow. He said it's important." The next day they met at a public park. He looked different than he had 6 months ago, more confident, more comfortable with the attention he now received. But his eyes were the same, kind and determined. "Thanks for coming," said. "I wanted to tell you in person. The Galactic Council is making an announcement tomorrow." "About Section 47, asked. "They're abolishing it, completely. No more forced service, no more rehabilitation programs. All current captives will be freed and offered genuine rehabilitation, education, job training, whatever they need." Skin flashed through a dozen colors at once. They're really ending it. The pressure was too much. After the attack on our ship, other incidents came to light. Turns out a lot of council members were profiting from the system. The scandal forced reforms. "How many people will be freed?" asked. "Over 2,000 across the galaxy. Some have been in forced service for decades." Felt tears on her face. Her patterns glowed bright gold. 2,000 people getting their lives back because you wouldn't choose. "Because we all stood up," corrected. "You both agreed to speak to the media. You shared your stories. That's what changed minds." It was true. In the months since arriving on Earth and had given interviews, spoken at universities and shared their experiences. It had been painful, reliving the captivity, but it had helped people understand why Section 47 needed to end. "There's something else," said. "The council wants me to testify at their formal inquiry. Ambassador thinks my testimony could influence the final reforms." "When?" asked. "Next week. Will you both come with me? I know it's a lot to ask going back there, but your voices matter too." Exchanged glances with. They were both nervous about returning to council space, but they were also not the same frightened women who had stood on that stage 6 months ago. "We'll come," said. The council chambers were even more impressive than remembered. Thousands of seats rose in tiers around a central platform. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the room, all waiting to hear the testimony. Walked to the platform with and beside him. Ambassador was there too, looking much less confident than he had at the ceremony. The scandal had damaged his reputation severely. The head of the council, an ancient being made of crystalline structures, called the session to order. "We are here to address the historical use of Section 47 and determine appropriate reforms. Champion of Earth, you may speak." Stepped forward. His voice was steady and clear. 6 months ago, I was offered a reward for defending innocent people. That reward was a choice between two slaves. I refused because on Earth, we believe that people are not property. We believe that freedom is not a privilege to be granted by authorities, but a right inherent to all thinking beings. He gestured to Anne. These women had committed no crimes. They were victims, not criminals. Yet your law treated them as commodities to be distributed as rewards. That's not rehabilitation. That's slavery. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some aliens looked uncomfortable. Others nodded in agreement. The Galactic Council claims to value freedom and dignity, continued. But for 300 years, you've allowed forced servitude to exist in your own laws. You've profited from it. You've built careers on it. And when I challenged it, extremists attacked a diplomatic vessel trying to recapture these women. Ambassador stood. The human exaggerates. Section 47 provided structure and purpose to individuals who needed help, not chains, interrupted. If the purpose was really rehabilitation, you would have offered education, counseling, job training, all the things Earth is providing now. Instead, you offered servitude and called it mercy. The Crystalline Council head spoke. What do you propose as an alternative? True rehabilitation, education programs, mental health support, job training, housing assistance. Give people the tools to rebuild their lives, don't force them into service. Earth is willing to share our rehabilitation models. We're willing to help. Stepped forward, her patterns glowing with determination. May I speak? The council head nodded. You may. I was a medical student when I was captured. For 2 years I was a prisoner. Then I was offered as a reward. If it had chosen me, I would have spent my life serving instead of learning. Instead, I'm now in my 2nd semester of medical school on Earth. I'm going to be a doctor. That's rehabilitation. That's giving someone a chance at a real life. Spoke next, her skin shifting to confident red. I was sold by my family to pay their debts. I had no choice in that. Then I was rescued by the council, and I still had no choice. It wasn't until I reached Earth that anyone asked me what I wanted. Now I'm an engineering apprentice. I'm designing systems that will help people across the galaxy. That's what happens when you treat people as people, not property. The chamber was silent. Then slowly some aliens began to applaud. It started with a few council members and spread through the audience. Not everyone joined in. Some sat with arms crossed, clearly unhappy. But the message was clear. Things had to change. The reforms were passed 3 days later. Section 47 was formally abolished. A new department was created to provide genuine rehabilitation services. Reparations were offered to former captives. Ambassador resigned from the council. Several other members who had profited from the system were removed from their positions. It wasn't perfect justice, but it was a start. After the vote, Ambassador approached privately. The purple-skinned alien looked tired and defeated. You've destroyed me, human, said quietly. No, replied. You destroyed yourself by defending an unjust system. I just asked the question you avoided for centuries. What question? What do we do when law is legal but wrong? Stared at him for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, he nodded. Perhaps that is a question we should have asked ourselves long ago. Months later, stood on a stage at Seoul Medical University, receiving an award for academic excellence. Her family watched from the audience. Her parents and brother had saved enough to visit Earth. Her patterns glowed with pride and joy. Wasn't at the ceremony. She was at a construction site on Mars, overseeing the installation of her water purification system. She sent a video message of congratulations, her skin flashing happy yellow against the red Martian landscape. Attended the ceremony with. His cargo ship was finally repaired, and he was back to running supplies between colonies. But everything had changed. Now, freed captives sometimes asked for transport to Earth, never charged them for the trip. After the ceremony, found celebrating with her family and friends. She introduced him to her brother, who shook his hand firmly. Thank you for saving my sister, said in careful English. She saved herself, replied. I just gave her the chance. Later, and met with a group of other freed captives at a community center in Seoul. They'd formed an advocacy organization called the Third Option Movement. Their mission was to help newly freed individuals adjust to their new lives and to push for continued reforms across the galaxy. "We have 43 new members this month," announced at the meeting, her skin flashing with excitement. "People are hearing about what happened and seeking us out." The group discussed support programs, legal advocacy, and outreach to other species. Had proposed a joint human-alien medical facility that would serve freed captives specifically. Was designing the infrastructure systems. Watched them work, planning and organizing. These were the same frightened women who had stood on a stage in gray clothes and neural collars. Now they were leaders, advocates, builders of new futures. As the meeting ended and people began to leave, approached. "I wanted to thank you again. I know we say it a lot, but I mean it every time." "You don't have to keep thanking me." "Yes, I do. You were instructed to choose one of us. Instead, you chose something better." "What's that?" "You chose to let us choose ourselves." Joined them, her patterns glowing soft gold in the evening light. "I received news today. The first hospital built under our program will open next month on they're naming it Hope Station." "That's a good name," said. "It's perfect," agreed, "because that's what you gave us, hope." Looked at these two remarkable women, at the community center full of people rebuilding their lives, at the future they were all creating together. 6 months ago, he'd stood on a stage and refused a reward. It had seemed like a small choice at the time, one moment of doing what was right. But small choices could create big changes. One person refusing to accept injustice could inspire others. One question could topple a system that had stood for centuries. The galaxy was still imperfect. There were still injustices to fight, still people who needed help, but it was better than it had been, and tomorrow it would be better still. They instructed him to select one of the two alien girls as his reward. He looked at them and saw people, not property. He chose freedom over tradition, justice over law, compassion over convenience. And in making that choice, he helped create a galaxy where everyone could make their own choices too.